Afternoon, gamers. Hello. It is me. I am here. Oh, it's going back in. Nice. Let me just get some music on the go. Things are working. I do need to move the chat up a little bit, though. There we go. I hadn't tested the ticker bar, so I put in the ticker bar like sometime last week for I think my Wednesday stream for my 100 follower stream, I think. But yes, good afternoon, gamers. This is my normal Monday homebrew stream, but it's Tuesday, so that's it. It's Tuesday instead. Fuck you. We're working on Mystic, believe it or not. We are doing a longer stream than normal, going until about 8 o'clock. I'm going to take a break at about 6, half 6, and it'll probably be on for about 15 minutes or so. And then I will be like, well, I'll just go straight through to like 8 o'clock, which is nice. I think because I think I've talked about this before on a Monday. Because normally on a Mondays I stop at 7 because I have a D&D game to go to immediately after the stream. Like I literally close the stream, go make some tea, and then immediately go to that game because it starts at like between 7 and 7:15. I'm usually the last person to show up. But once COVID stuff opens up, my LGS is going to open again, and I started that game at that LGS, so we're most likely going to start playing at the store again, which I'm not super hyped about. Greetings. Welcome in, folks. But say I am going to have to I'm going to have to move the Monday stream basically because I'll have to start leaving my house at like 6 o'clock or something to like go to my LGS and play that game. And it'll probably end up getting moved to a Tuesday. So that's not a big deal. And it'll also give me more time to work on stuff as well. Some things, if I'm making a subclass, I can bash that bad boy out in an hour and a half. Very consistently have I been able to do that, and it's been super cool to especially when I was doing stuff, when I was working on stuff with like Lucas Anderson, I was doing subclasses for him on a big project called Dritz's Travel Log of Everything, I think, if I'm correct, obviously, and I just finished all of it in like 4 weeks. I just did the whole fucking thing on stream. And like most other people who are on the thing are just slowly, clunking their way through it over weeks, which is kind of funny, really. That I just bashed the whole thing out in a very short space of time. But yeah, this is my thing for the oh, got my throat. This is my thing for this week, basically. This is my Mystic stuff. I've been working on this for I think 3-4 weeks now, and we've made a good dent. I think this is stream 4, so this is week 4. I think I missed a week. I think I had to skip it for whatever reason, I don't remember. It was a couple of weeks ago. But for those who are unaware, I'll do a sort of a quick yeah, I'll talk about that in a minute, because this thing over here, this bad boy, Van Richten's Pocketbook to Everything, should come out by the end of the month, by the way. And yeah, it's a 42,000 word book and counting that I wrote in like 2 months. It's been a whole thing. I've written more in 2 months than I think I ever have in my life. Angela's, which is 38,000 words, is notably shorter. It took 11 months for me to write, and this bad boy has taken me 2. There was a lot of factors that made Angela's take so long, but the fact that every section required a lot of creative output, and it was very, very wordy. But even then, I bashed that bad boy out in 2 fucking months. It's fucking good as well. Like, not to toot my own horn or anything, but it's fucking good. It's a good book. There's a lot of good shit in there. I'm super proud of that book. It's probably second to Angela's as like the best thing I've ever written. And I have enough material to write another one if I wanted to. Regardless, I'm going to do a quick sort of thing for people who are new or whatever and don't really know what the fuck it is I'm doing. Or don't really have any context as to what the mystic is. Because, I wouldn't be mad if you just straight up didn't know what it was. Because the majority of people who play the game these days were introduced by 5th edition, or are, sort of, like grognards in their 40s who probably don't watch Twitch, and, started playing in like 1st or 2nd edition in the 70s and the 80s. And there's a big gap of people, of a very much smaller number of people who played, 3rd and 4th edition, or 3rd edition. No one really played 4th edition. Obviously, a lot of people played 3rd edition, but not a lot of new people. The brand didn't grow an enormous amount in 3rd edition, and even then, that was still 20 years ago. And I'm 20 years old. 3rd edition is about as old as I am. Let me just double check and make sure I'm not lying through my teeth. 2000, it is older than me. It was released in 2000, I was born in 2001. I am 20 years old. 3rd edition is 21 years old, or nearly 21 years old at least. Regardless, the Mystic is an Unearthed Arcana class for 5th edition. It's made by wizards, but it's Unearthed Arcana, the way Artificer used to be, for those of you who know, or who knew that was a thing. Now you might think, oh, the Mystic must be really new. Have I never heard about it? No, it isn't. The Mystic is from 2016. And, maybe your second question is, well, why have I never heard of it if it's so old? Because Wizards officially, disowned it. Because it was bad. It had a lot of fundamentally bad design things in it, and they decided it just didn't really work for 5th edition. And they were right. It didn't. It sucked. It was super broken. It was the kind of class that was just good at everything at no cost. You could be as good a healer as the cleric, as good a damage dealer as the warlock, as good a martial as the fighter, and you could be all of them at once pretty easily, and you wouldn't really have to put much thought into it either. You just kind of picked the good abilities, and that was it. And Mystic could have been made to work. I think realistically it could have been. But there were a lot of fundamental things that were just kind of wrong with it. The same way that the original Unearthed Arcana for the Artificer was just kind of garbage. And the new version that we have is actually mostly fine. I think there's a lot of things about New Artificer I'm not really a fan of, but there's a lot of things about all of the classes in the game that I'm really just not a fan of, so it's not really a failure on Wizards' part. But this version of the Mystic is me trying to take the idea of being a psychic, there's always, any kind of sci-fi or sort of contemporary fantasy, and I mean contemporary as in set in urban fantasy, I think is probably a better term than contemporary fantasy. Urban fantasy and sci-fi, you get a lot of psychics, people who are capable of manipulating things with their mind, whether that be physical objects, moving them around, shooting lasers at people, manipulating people with their minds, all that kind of stuff. That's all, or can be classified at least, under psionics, or psychic abilities, which is what the Mystic's all about. And in some campaigns, the Mystic just doesn't, fundamentally just doesn't work as a design thing, because people see being a psychic as a sci-fi thing, and that's fine. But I personally think it's fine in a fantasy setting. as long as you don't, like, it really depends on the aesthetic that you're going for. And what I'm going for here is kind of almost like an inversion of the monk. Like a wizard monk is kind of what I want. You know, someone who is, you know, just through sheer force of will almost can make things happen, which is kind of neat. And the system I have in place, I would like to think, I don't know if it is, but I would like to say, not necessarily correct, but I'm pretty sure, is very unique in the, you don't pick a subclass. You know, every class in the game, you pick a subclass at first, second, or third level. You don't pick one here. You just don't. Instead, you have points. The name is a placeholder because it's a terrible name. But you get points, and you can spend them like skill points, like you would in like Skyrim, I think is my point of comparison. Because you have the Skyrim skill trees. You have the 3 groups of skills: martial skills, magic skills, and sneaky skills. I think it's like vitality, magicka, and stamina skills, or basically the green skills, the red skills, and the blue skills. And then within each of those categories, there are more skills, and you can spec into each of the trees and go up the trees. This is basically that. Like, there is very little difference. You have 5 different groups of abilities. You have clairsentience, which is the ability to perceive things in sort of special ways, you know, seeing the future, seeing through walls, being able to see invisible things, being able to project yourself across long distances. Meta creativity is creating things out of energy. Pathoturgy is transmitting and manipulating thoughts, so like telepathy, mind control, hypnosis. Psychokinesis is the ability to move shit with your mind or make things stop moving. And then psychometabolism is your ability to enhance yourself through just sheer force of will. You know, it's like, I am resistant. You know, you see them like there's a video that comes to mind. I think it's from like a really short-lived show called like Stanley's Superhumans. It's hosted by like what is his name? Daniel Browning Smith, who's like the most flexible man in the world or whatever. And he goes around and you know, at the behest of Stan Lee, who doesn't host the show, it's just his namesake. He has like a segment at the start of the show or something. Like Dan goes around across the world and finds people who can do extraordinary things. You know, there's like a guy who's the fastest hip shooter in the world. Like he can shoot from the hip, hand off the gun. You know, the standard standoff, you know, kind of stance, and just like within the space of a second empty the chamber of like a magnum and hit all of his targets. But a very long diatribe to set up my point is one of the episodes of the show is like a Tibetan monk who, like, you see it on the show, he just drills into himself and it just doesn't break his skin. And he sits there and he does he psychs himself up like super hard. He sat there and he's like, you know, doing the thing, and he's I don't know specifically what it is he's doing. I don't know a lot about, like, you know, Buddhist like monk practices, but he's like psyching himself up, and he, you know, at the end of the show, he just puts a drill like right here on his temple, the thinnest part of his skull. Doesn't even break his skin. And that's like, I went on a long diatribe just to explain what psychometabolism is, but that's basically what it is. And also just reminiscing a show I've only seen like a handful of episodes of, and I doubt anybody else has ever watched. I think it was a web show as well. I'm not even sure if it was on TV. I don't know, whatever, doesn't matter. Either way, I have 2 plans for today. Is to make more powers. These are powers you can see here, like bodily adaptation. You can, you know, you can level up your powers as you go from novice to adept to expert, and then all the way up to master. And you can master powers as you go through. You spend points on your skill tree. That's how the class works. Super customizable. Every time you play this, it's a unique experience. Like, if you want to be martial scion, you can have weapon meta creation and make weapons, and then also take like bodily adaptation and psionic tenacity to gain access to like defensive capabilities, and meta protection, which I haven't like statted yet. And you know what? I think that's where we're going to start, because that's taken me 15 minutes to explain all of that. It's way too fucking long. Either way, I'm gonna get started. Scooch in a bit. So, novice. You are a novice in meta protection. You gain the following benefits. This music is too loud, I need to turn it down. Now that I'm like trying to think, it's just a little bit too loud. There we go. So, first off, oh, wrong button. Armored defense. Let me go grab the monk real quick and just like grab the text from that. So it'll probably have what I want. Is it still just a little bit too loud? There we go. Oh, whoops. Gonna fix this to the English spelling. I don't care if the American spelling is more convenient and makes more sense. Submit. Put the U in there. God damn. This is the only greetings that say welcome in. This is pretty decent. So working on the mystic. My redesign of the Unearthed Arcana class. Nice. So I've seen a handful of witch classes. It's sort of like something I've seen before, but it's not something I see very often. I think I've seen like two like complete written versions. One of them was clunky but interesting, and the other one I don't remember. But it's a fun trope. I like the witch's cauldron and having your spooky implements of doing whatever, like having your familiar and stuff like that's fun. I feel like you can probably just be a warlock, but like that's boring. Full class it. It's good fun. I'm a strong advocate for just like if there's grounds to make a class, make one. Like if you've got the mechanics and you've got the flavor, just make a class, because it's fun. Okay, right. So I've got like my notes down here. This is sort of the one I have the most notes for. So meta protection is the idea that I feel like enhancing your tenacity is that's not. There we go, that's sort of a better description there, because you're sort of creating barriers and shields to protect yourself. Yeah, I'll say the potion stuff is always good fun. I'll say they're always a bastard to balance as somebody who's designed an alchemist class with somebody. That's something that's on the release schedule. It's just both me and the person I designed it with are like busy with other shit right now, and it needs a lot more testing. But yeah, I have like an alchemist class where you know, you just get spells, but they're all flavored as potions. It's kind of like introducing 3.5 Vancian magic into 5th edition in a way that's actually kind of cool. I actually really kind of like it. Oh, I need to, not wisdom, you want intelligence here. Oh, intelligence, there we go. Meta barrier. It really depends. You know, playtest it as much as you reasonably can. And you know, you don't need to run like a full crazy playtest session. Some of it can just be, I'm gonna like do this. I'm gonna play a class of, you know, generic adventurers, and you know the rest of the party is like a fighter and a wizard with simple spells and stuff. You can playtest by yourself, and as long as you're like, what is someone reasonably going to do here? And you'll find some things on your own, but yeah, generally, like, the more mechanically out there your class is, the more testing it needs, especially if it's complicated in any capacity. When I tested Alchemist, I tested it once, and there was a bunch of questions of like, how the fuck does this work? This needs clarification. How does this work? And then you can go back and like find out how that works. But yeah, that's. I don't really have an answer. I'm trying to think. To be fair, this is a longer stream than normal. Yeah, why not? Yeah, I can give it a scan. If it's a Google Doc, just drop a link in here. I will. It'll be like a scan through because I don't want to spend like forever on it. But I will have a read of it in a few minutes. I'm gonna probably be like 5-10 minutes, and I'll because I want to do a dent in this. But yeah, I will take a look at it. Ugh. I'm trying to look for. Here we go. You can innately cast the shield spell, requiring no components. Oh, I need to. So at novice level, you get unarmored defense, and you can cast shield. So basically, a lot of people are going to pick up at least one level in meta protection, just because it gives you really useful stuff. And, you know, is it a bad thing that meta protection is just really good and you should probably pick it? Not really. Like, oh, thank you very much for the follow. Yeah, I think my sort of want for all of the powers is for all of them to be at least good or useful, even if some of them are like a little niche. You know, there might be some that aren't necessarily super powerful, but you want to pick them for flavor reasons. And some that are just like, oh, this is just generically quite good. Like meta protection, like putting. It's almost encouraged for you to say, yeah, I'll take 1 point in meta protection. That seems really good. And if you don't, whatever, you know. And if you do, you don't feel like you're wasting something. You're putting a single point into it. You don't really miss out on an enormous amount by putting a point into meta protection just because it's good. It's not like picking a feat or something just because it's good when you want to pick something flavorful and fun when you have to wait like 4 more levels to pick another feat. Because if you put one point into whatever system, then you still get other points every level, or almost every level anyway. Right, so adept level. You are an adept in meta protection. So first thing is meta barrier. Should be I'm gonna say twice. I feel like shield should scale up slowly, you know? Shield is just, like, a great spell at all levels. Oh, is the bot not working? No, it just isn't. That's helpful. Thanks, bot. Hang on. Oh. Wow, okay, I guess that's a permissions problem. Let me go fix that. Yeah, why the fuck did I set that to... Why did I do that? Yeah, no, that was a permissions thing. That's my bad. Oh well, it's in now, doesn't matter. But yeah, that's my portfolio. Most of my stuff is on the guild. I've got like one product on drive-thru. And Angela's is my drive-through product, and it is my baby. My only public class. I've worked on a the bot. I've fixed a lot of my bot problems because when I first installed the bot, I put the folder in the folder for Streamlabs OBS. So whenever OBS would update, it would just wipe the bot. Or break the bot and I'd have to reinstall it. Which was just... I don't know why I did it, but I did. And it was fucking stupid. So many times the bot just didn't fucking work. Oh, I say next month I'll have to do something for my 1 year, I realise. But I will get to that nearer the time. I need a... oh, here we go. Yeah, this is how I word it. You may instead use this feature 2 times. So you need something else at Adept other than just being able to cast Shield twice. Because whilst that's really good, I also don't know specifically... This is also twice per short rest as well, by the way. What's in my list of things? So meta protection. Ooh. Here's an idea. Or I'll call this meta shield, meta barrier. Not having subclasses, and just having like skill tree power lists. That's the. It is the most customizable class you can possibly make, despite not having a subclass. That's sort of the theme anyway. My point of reference has been Skyrim skill trees, is basically what it is. Minus the incremental experience for every skill. It's just, every level you get a skill point. Put it in whatever tree you want. Doesn't matter. Where's the table? Yeah, the name for the points is a placeholder because it's a terrible name. But you start with 2, so you can either... you get 2 powers. And as you level up, you can put more points into different powers to level them up from Adept to Expert once you get to 9th, and Master once you get to 13th. And with the way the numbers work, there are different ways where you can master 4 powers and have nothing else. So you have those 4 powers and that's it. Yeah, to be fair, a lot of the useful things in the PHB are either are like things that are just in the free rules that you can just Google, because most of them are in the SRD. So there is that. I would if you have assuming you don't, assuming you already have it in print. Because if you don't, then yeah, I forgot about D&D Beyond's like awful business model. I have a personal distaste for D&D Beyond and everything that it is. I really don't like it. I understand its usefulness and I understand its Strixhaven should be very interesting. As both a Magic player and a designer for the game, it's cool to see the designs they're doing. There's a lot of weird decisions that they made with like giving some of the subclasses to certain classes, like you can't be a bard and also be Prismari, when that's literally what Prismari are. They're artists. They're like dancers and singers and like painters and stuff like that. It's very weird, but and also druids. It's a whole thing, but I'm intrigued to see what the actual content of the Strixhaven book is going to be outside of those subclasses. Yeah, it's fair. I don't have an issue with digital copies of books at all, like not even slightly. My issue lies squarely with I think that D&D Beyond is a terrible platform. I think D&D Beyond is awful. I ain't got anything against people who use it, mind you. I just think it's shit. I think their business model is shit. I think their interface is shit, and I think the things that D&D Beyond does to players is not good, not healthy for any table. I'm not a fan of the press one button and the thing does everything for me, because then you sort of get to a position, certainly in my experience at least, I'm sure this isn't the case with everybody, where new players who start with D&D Beyond for the sake of it's easier, not it's easier, it is easier, it is, because you don't really have to think about the choices that you're making or the things that you're picking up, and you get people who've been playing the game for a year. Wait, is the Player's Handbook not in the Essentials bundle? Really? That's really weird. But like you end up with people who have been playing D&D Beyond for like who've been playing D&D for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and still don't really understand the core rules of the game, or the things that their character does, because they've never really read any of it. It's just been kind of put in front of them by D&D Beyond, or any system really like it. This isn't meant to be like you've got to be a big fucking like rules nut to play D&D, otherwise you fuck off. It's like no, it's none of that like gatekeepy shit. It's more just, learning how to play the game is not fun, but once you know how to play the game becomes a lot more fun than if you just don't know how to play it. If you know what you're doing, you can do a lot more interesting things with your character and have a lot more fun playing the combat aspect of the game, which makes up, a minimum of a third of most campaigns. Because if you don't know what you're doing, yeah, I say, like, for like doing math for you, like, that's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. Like the digital dice doing the math for you, there's nothing wrong with that at all. I say, yeah, as a DM, I'm sure it's probably quite useful. But yeah, I say my issue lies solely with players just the D&D Beyond kind of bypassing the learning of how to play the game for new players, and then the moment they hit a brick wall of it sets a ceiling of how far they can progress as a player, and I find that it's you end up with people who have been playing for a really long time and still fail to grasp like the fundamentals of how the game works because they've never actually read any of the rules outside of the bare minimum of what their character does, because of the language that the interface presents everything with. But I don't know. That's my diatribe on why I don't like D&D Beyond. But yeah, no, like not to like shit on people who use it, because I don't think there's, you know, using it is not necessarily the problem. I think it's the problems that it can create that are an issue, and also their business model. But you know, whatever, capitalism, right? You know, can't really do fucking anything, fuck all about that. Complain about that as much as you want, it ain't gonna change. Yeah, I'll say like there's I think my example is there is a player in my game that I play on a Monday. He's brand new, and he specifically was like, I want to throw myself in the deep end. I'm going to pick a druid because it seems like it's got a lot of rules to it. Problem is, because he's using D&D Beyond, the rules are never really presented to him, and he doesn't actually know how any of his abilities work. Because he's just been sort of learning by doing, so to speak. And like, you know, we've been playing for a little bit, and we haven't done a lot of combat, but we've been playing for like 6 months, and whilst we haven't done a huge amount of combat, there's still a lot of like missing player knowledge you would kind of expect somebody to have by this point. And through no fault of his own, I think it's primarily like kind of D&D Beyond hiding it all behind the curtain of the veil of this game is super easy. It's like, yeah, it's the easiest edition of D&D, but if you want an easy game, yeah, I think ultimately, like, a lot of it is just a little bit of bias, but yeah. So I'm gonna shut up about it now, because I've been going on far too long. So it's going pretty good. I'm slowly working my way through one of the powers. We've got a power system going on, like skill trees. It's kind of how it works, or it's not even kind of. It is how it works. You spec your way up a skill tree. I'm currently writing one of the skill trees being meta protection. Gives you special protection abilities, believe it or not. So meta barrier. As a bonus action, you may project a magical ward onto a creature that you can see within 30 feet of you. A psionic barrier. Let's go grab. Is attached to that creature's tokens +1. Now, generally speaking, the Mystic is a very sort of self-oriented... Oh, nice. That's cool. I just tabbed back in. I was reading an ability on the side. That's cool. I'll say getting to be a player when you're almost exclusively always the GM is a good time. Speaking from experience, even like, yes, as myself who DMs multiple times a week and has done for years and doesn't ever play because nobody in my like no one in my playgroup GMs at all, and those that do GM other games and don't have time to run more, or to run any that I can be in. Like, even settling for like super like kind of garbage D&D is still feels alright, you know. I say like a lot of my play experiences have been almost exclusively negative. Like the game I play on Monday is pretty good. Like I've been I took a month break off of my big sort of West Marches game, but I run that, which is 1 to 2 games a week. I have a game on a Thursday and a game on a Saturday, and a game that is coming up to start on a Friday every other week, but I've been too swamped with stuff to actually really do anything with it, because I've had shit to do. Mostly writing this. Van Richten's Pocketbook to Ravenloft comes out at the end of the month. So plug in my bullshit. It's good stuff. So yeah, this protective ward ability here is Mystic is almost exclusively say I'm very lucky because I have almost no scheduling issues with my group. Like I don't have nobody in my group like works a night shift or just works shifts. They all they all kind of So, too much free time is always good. Like, realistically, I think if anybody had to pick between too much free time and not enough, they would always pick too much, because anybody can find things to fill their time with. But if you don't have enough time to do the things you want to do, then what's the fucking point, right? That's certainly my argument, and I doubt there are many people who would disagree with me on something like that. Though maybe there are, I don't fucking know. No. But the Mystic is almost exclusively a self-centered class of doing things for itself and buffing itself. But I think this ability here specifically can be fairly interesting on like a mechanical basis of be kind of fun. The ward's effects end yeah, it's yeah. I've not had that experience before, I have to say. I think any game I've tried to start online has had that experience, but I personally, like GMing for people I know, I've never had that experience before. Doesn't sound fun, I'll tell you that much, but yeah, the ward's effects end if you are incapacitated. I'm not sure if that's complete enough, but that should probably be fine. Protective ward, novice, adept. Expert. Almost done with this section. I'll take a look at your witch class. Lesser impassable barrier. Yeah, so that's generally not a bad way to go about things. On each turn you can create. A psychic barrier. That is up to 10 feet tall, 10 feet wide, and 1 inch thick. That is okay. Let me just make sure this works, because I'm not 100% sure that it does. But I'm gonna double check. Lesser impassable barrier. Wall of force. Let's go take a look. Wait. Ah. I understand. Don't even need to do any of this. You get a single panel. Uh, 10 foot by 10 foot. Yeah, so that's it's sort of nice to like start again in places. I remember my first setting, which I do kind of want to revisit at some point, because it does have some cool stuff in it, but is mostly kind of shit. There's a lot of cool locales in it. I have a book I want to write about some of them at some point. Yeah, say the I kind of want to go back to it at some point. I went through so many iterations before I first actually started running the game. You can create a single. There's a lot of things that I pulled away from it and have used elsewhere. No action required. as a single panel. As a single panel. There we go. Right. The panel acts as a single 10 foot by 10 foot panel created by the Wall of Force spell. I think that works. Was it were you running Out of the Abyss, or was it just like that was just the campaign that you wanted to run just in general? I think this is probably okay. Okay. I'll say I've not run Out of the Abyss, but all I know is that you start in the Underdark, and that's it. Mastered meta protection. I'll say I'll get to the end of this, and then Gabby, if you're still here, I shall take a look at the Witch. I got sidetracked on more than one occasion. Again, the following benefits. So you get greater impassable barrier. Ah, that's always fun. Plague that turns people into dragons. Always a good time. Always a good time. Meta barrier. Again, 4, so you can cast shield 4 times per short rest, which seems very good. So we're going to go with that. Casting shield any number of times ever is generally very good, but 4 times is very good. And then projected barrier, or projected ward, sorry. Or it should be projected ward. Instead, it grants a +2 bonus to AC. There we go. I like that. That's cool. Like, you can spec meta protection just to get a little bit of unarmored defense. That's fine. Or, you know, you can go all in on meta protection, gain access to Wall of Force, which is a super OP spell, and you can get it as early as 13th level, which is, you know, honestly, Wall of Force, given the things that it does, should probably be like a 7th level spell. It is honestly that good. And then just remove Force Cage from the game, because it's awful, and I hate it. Yikes. I think the problem you might have there is that no one's going to play a Warlock, first of all, because playing a Warlock is just suicide. Or no one's going to play a caster at all, or everyone's going to be an elf, so it just doesn't matter. Or play an elf a race that just doesn't age, like they'll just be a Dampier or something, and they just won't care. I think there's like you there are definitely some issues that would arise from that, I think. But I say, yeah, I'm going to have a gander and scroll up a fair ways. Actually, not that far. It's fine. Which class? How much text is there? Not a horrendous amount, so yeah, it's probably all good. Oh. Okay, right. I'll have a quick little gander at things. Right. Screen capture. Oh, I don't have the little scrolly. I don't have a ticker on here. I need to sort that. There should be a ticker. Oh, it is here. Oh. Oh yeah, it is there. It's just white, so you can't fucking see it. Yeah, you can sort of see it. You can sort of see it. Hang on, can I put like a border on it? Outline. There we go. That actually kind of fixes things very nicely. So, good stuff. Right, so yeah, so it makes my life a bit easier. Or 4, is that? Yeah, that's right, never mind. Lowguns, daggers, quarterstaffs, sickles, spear, and whip. So far, you haven't fallen for my biggest pet peeve of just not fucking alphabetizing lists. Because I swear to God, every time I see a list, because I edit on the side, right? Like that's like one of the things that I do is I edit. And every time I see a list that isn't alphabetized, I feel another piece of my shattered soul drift away into the void. It's so good. List is alphabetized. There's a couple spaces missing between these commas, but it doesn't really matter. The thes here, it would just be like, you get a lot of tool proficiencies, but fine. If anything, it could be like choose 2 from, and you pick 2 of these. I think that would probably be a little more reasonable. Wisdom, charisma, that's fine. History, intimidation. Oh, hang on, you swap these 2. Medicine, nature, religion, survival. Dagger or blowgun, components, patriotic fashion, or a U-wand. A U-wand is a druidic focus, so that's not necessary. Alas, my soul hurts again. Single tear. Nah, it's not that big of a deal. There's a +2 in there, as opposed to the other way around. Generally, classes don't get features at the same level. They gain access to ability score improvements. The only exception being the monk's slow fall, which is wholly a flavor ability. They should probably get this at either 3rd or 5th, whichever is more balanced. The same goes here as well. They should probably get this at like 10th, probably. Right, brews and booleans. You have spent your formative, or at least spring potion concoctions. You have a long rest. You can craft a batch of concoction. The concoction table below. You can craft a medical knowledge equal to your proficiency bonus. These lasts for 24 hours additionally. This probably shouldn't scale with proficiency bonus. It should probably just have its own like scale number, just so that you can't like spec one level in which at like, you know, 17th level and have access to 6 concoctions right off the bat. You learn new and more potent Right, okay. Okay, right. This is relatively simple. I kind of like this. I feel like there needs to be a lot more variety, so making more potions is definitely something you should do. But I like this as like a thing where like you can just like, yeah, I just make, you know, low level like potions. Like that's cool. I like that. Witches Covens. I think the age thing is, you know, not every race is human. Not every race scales at the same age. That's probably not something you necessarily want. And generally speaking, is this your subclass, or is this? Oh, it's your specialty, right? When do you get your specialty? Because that's not listed anywhere. Yeah, you need to put in like specialty like down here somewhere. Like, hang on, what is this? This is heading 2. Ignore the font. It's defaulted to Arial. It doesn't like Times New Roman for whatever reason. Hang on. Where's your TNR? There we go. Oh. At 3rd level words, basically you can just like rip more. Okay, the subclasses add more. Yeah, I still feel like the base variety should be a bit more, but either way, like that's regardless. Resist poison. Again, this you probably shouldn't get this at the same level that you get that you get an ASI. I would move this to like 10th. And honestly, resistance to poison and the poison condition, like honestly, just bam. Like, immunity to poison, is, like, monks get this exact ability at 10th. I think they also get diseases too. Like, resistance to poison and advantage against poison, like dwarves just have that from level 1. So if you're a dwarf witch, your 10th level or your 8th level or whatever, it's just kind of sad. It doesn't get any better, you know? I'd say 9th, generally full casters don't gain features at the same level that they gain access to a new level of spells. That was my main thing of going like, put this at 10th. Where was this? Yeah, so yeah, I was going to say that you get the concoction improvements at you get the concoction improvements at 5th anyway. Master potions, all potions can be made twice. Oh, okay, right. I mean, yeah, but there's, you know, it's such a minor thing. There's nothing wrong with you giving them like that as well. There are lots, you know, like giving them a subclass feature and then like immunity to poison is fine. It's whatever, right? Like it is better than the monk's 10th level, but the monk sucks from 10th level onwards, so it's a bad point of reference. Monks, actually no, monks get more ki and their unarmored movement goes up. So yeah, no, monk 10th level isn't even that bad either. It's just monks are bad. Right, you gain immunity to poisons. Oh, right, yeah, I say this honestly, I just changed it to something else, because, again, it's just immunity to poison is not something you, monks are cool, they just are horrendously designed and are super weak. The only, like, good ability they get is Stunning Strike, and it's the one that's just horribly designed. It's one of the abilities where, if it works, the DM doesn't have any fun, and if it doesn't work, the player doesn't have any fun. Either the DM doesn't build encounters that specifically counteract Stunning Strike, and the player's ability is just completely invalidated, or the monk's stunning strike always fucking works and the DM's boss just gets stun locked to death. I think it's a horrendously designed ability. But regardless. Study of Summoned Friend. I feel this needs a name change, but it is kind of funny, so. Study of Blessings. The spells generally go before, they'll go at the top, and this also needs to be under like a 3rd level thing, like at 3rd level. And why is it? No, it's just defaulting to fucking Arial, to whatever. Potion of Spare the Dying. Without looking at what that is, I assume it copies the Spare the Dying spell, which is a terrible spell. Like, it's just actively a very bad spell. Oh, hang on. Also, it's 3rd level, 4th level, 20th level, not at level 3 at level whatever. That's like a thing with the style guide. Yeah, I feel like a lot of these abilities is just kind of like, it's just adding potions to your list and doesn't really give you very many actual abilities. It just gives you a couple more options, whereas I feel like that should be just something they just kind of get. Like, Potion of Spare the Dying, assuming it just mimics the Spare the Dying spell, is like functionally useless, especially given that yeah, you get Healing Word. Yeah, Spare the Dying, useless. Pointed, like, just, like, it doesn't, I don't know. As I say, that's, like, at a glance, I couldn't tell you, but, like, what is an elixir of health? Oh, okay, yeah, that's fair. When you cast healing, you can reroll anyone's. Right, okay, so this ability should be called Healing of the White. Oh yeah, no, I say that's my thing, is make your own, right? Is make your own. I think my main sort of point of critique here is that very few, like, from what I'm seeing of this subclass, you don't get a feature. You don't really get like a feature that does something other than just give you more potions until 9th level, and that's the only one that you get. And it's not bad. Be a spell or see, you want this to work on your potions as well. So be a 9th. No. It's 9th level there. 9th level. Whenever you whenever you roll dice for the healing of a spell you cast or a concoction you brewed, there. Yeah, I think that's I've seen those general like sentiments around a lot. Like that. Potion of Fire Breath. That seems very good to be getting so low. Yeah, that's this is the Potion of Fire Breath. Too good for first level. Because it's not just 46 fire damage, it's 46 fire damage 3 times. This is 3 second level burning hands. Is basically what that is. And it's free. As well. So that's a big thing there. Fire Brew, I'll have a look at that. Feature burns longer. Yeah, again, like you. Yeah, I'd say like you know, any you make a potion of lesser fire breath, like, and just have it be like, you know, like 3d4 or something, which is probably fine. But yeah, I say with this section here, like, you wouldn't gain a feature called burns longer. It would be a feature. You would say burns longer, 9th level, like that. I say another thing would be to, like, let me go grab it. 5e style guide. Oh, I've not heard this before. Like, for anyone who is looking to get into writing stuff for the game, the 5th edition style guide, it is free. I would strongly recommend reading it. It contains all of the this is how we write the books kind of thing, and the closer you can match to it, the more professionally made your stuff will look. Regardless, like, then people will want to focus more on the balance of the things that you have made, rather than nitpicking, you've written this wrong, or this isn't written properly, or that isn't written properly. You know, basically read the PHB, like how that's written and how you gain features. The SRD is free, so you don't need to own the PHB to go and read. So to 5th edition SRD, you can read a good portion of the PHB for free, and find out how those abilities are written. And like realistically, above all other things, that is my point of advice for everybody, is either read the style guide or get familiar with the game enough where you know it just through instinct. Because I read that for the first time the other day, and it was like, oh, I kind of already know all of this, because I've been doing this for years. And it is like a whole, like, it is, you know, once you know it, and you won't want to stray from it, because it's the uptick in quality of your work is like orders of magnitude just because of how it looks. It looks like it was printed in the book. It doesn't matter if it's horribly unbalanced or not. Another thing for the guild, don't release things for free. Like, if you spent your time on something, you know, release it, and people will pay money for it. Well, that's the thing. Like, classes don't do super well on the guild, but even then, still, you know, still sell a little bit. You know, you'll still sell a couple copies here and there. But yeah, I think rather than like, oh yeah, you need to put in some spells in these spell lists here. Yeah, like alphabetize this and like stuff like that. Another thing is your specialty. You need to list, like, I would assume you gain all of your spells, all of your like specialty spells for free. I say no, and like, you know, any amount of work is like is, you know, it's hard work. Like, you know, there's no like, you know, it, like my attitude to everything is it's not a pissing contest, you know. it's not even about monetizing it really. It's not about like he who I want money. It's sort of like it's the principle of I did work on something, you know. And if you want to release something for free, the only time you should really ever do it is if you're releasing it for a meme. Which, you know, all of my free stuff is either free previews to things that I've released, like, oh yeah, like the Archive of Esoteric Secrets is my most successful product. It's a big book of 160 spells, and it's a huge fucking thing. And there's a preview because the thing is like $8, and there is a preview that is free, and it has like 32 of the spells. I think it's like a small portion of the book. But it's still, you know, like it's like 24 or 32, I can't remember which. But it's, you know, a decent number of the spells, so you can get an understanding of what kind of things are in the book. And, you know, like the preview definitely has some of the cooler spells in it, because, you know, of course it does. Like, that's cool. Like, I'm going to show off some of the better stuff in the book. Not all of it, but I'm going to show some of the better stuff, you know, to sort of entice the people or whatever. But, yeah, no, I say I'm not trying to like mince your words, but I understand your point. What the fuck is happening with chat right now? Oh, why the fuck is out there? Say a campaign setting guide again. That's like. Yeah, that's most campaign setting guides are like 100 pages or more. You know, don't write something for 6 months and then release it for nothing. I think that's like my you know, basically don't work for free is kind of my thing. If you've made something and you've put your time into it, then, you know, if people see that you're selling it for a fair price, then that's further in you know, enticement for them to go, you know, this is worth my money. Oh, like if you're just putting it out on the guild, no, it isn't. Like you just, like, as long as you follow guild guidelines, you just make an account and just post shit. Like, that's it. Though a campaign setting you would have to put on drive-through, which is a little bit more complicated and a little bit more of a faff. But realistically, there is some guidance for that. Something I will do. For people who are interested in it, because I've done this on stream before, and I will do so in future. Is if you are, I say, like, publishing on drive-through is not much harder than publishing on the guild. Certainly not much harder than just publishing for free on either of those platforms. It's just annoying. Like, drive-through and the guild are horrendously designed websites. I'm genuinely. There's also other sites as well. Like Itch is quite good. There's another one that I'm not super aware of, but drive-through and the guild have some good stuff on there even. But if you want to post on the guild or on drive-through, let me. So, for people who are interested in posting stuff on the guild, the DM's Guild Creative Lounge has, like, creators huge and tiny on it, and most of them are like, well, all the vocal ones are generally quite pleasant, and they usually have answers to most of your questions, as long as you're not, you know, hampering them constantly with nonsense. But, like, you know, general, like, you know, I'm looking for, like, a quick start guide, you know, or like a quick start on how to get into publishing on this website. They can probably point you to something. I just kind of dove in head first, and I couldn't tell you how to do it off the top of my head. I'd be here for an hour, and I'd just be going around in a circle. But someone in there will have here is a quick start guide, or will it'll give you an explanation. I think. I will vouch for them, and I may be wrong, but I'm fairly certain they'd be capable of it. But yeah, I'm going to take a break here. I will be back in about 15 minutes. I say, Like realistically, my like, regardless of balance, because if I wanted to like balance test this thing, I'd be here for an hour. And I want to work on the thing I'm here to work on. But my main point of advice is, look into the style guide, like, do some numbers, basically, is like the like part of the like the balance thing of, is this better than something else that another class gets, or I already have access to, and so on and so forth. Like the Potion of Fire Breath thing is like, that's over 3 rounds, that's 12d6 damage, which is a lot. That's a lot of damage. How about a little more? Let me just go back to the old Word doc. But there's Phil Swift over here. He's there's Phil Swift like down here. That's a lot of damage. I would style guide and like get as familiar with the game as you can. Like, because I dove headfirst right into designing stuff right out of the gate, and it's fun as shit and it's super rewarding. But man, the stuff you make early is just bad. It is. Like, and there's some cool shit in The Witch. I like it. I like it conceptually. I like it from a design standpoint. I think it's cool. But it's exactly. Like, the first thing you make of anything is going to be fundamentally flawed in some capacity, and that's just kind of how that is. But there's always some kernel of like, this is really awesome. I can come back and make this work. And I think pretty much all of what I saw was like, this 100% can work, and I think this can be good. But it's a case of, a little bit more experience, a little bit more system knowledge, and just general like balance stuff is the I say, like, it's cool stuff. I'm on board with the idea, and I'm on board with a lot of the mechanical concept as well. But it's about like creating mechanics that are simple to understand but also comprehensive. Like something I can read and understand how it works, understand what its limitations are, and also understand how it interacts with other things in the game. Because there's a lot of overlap between things. Like the alchemist that I worked on, they condense spells into potions, and there's a lot of shit you have to, like, a lot of hoops you have to jump through to get that to make sense. And the class is, like, unchangeably very complicated because of it. And is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? Is it something we can improve? Is it something that just can't really change? Yeah, well, it's probably a bit of both. And I've been doing this for nearly 6 years now. It is, I've been playing this game and designing, badly to okay is where I'm at now. Is I'm just like, I'm kind of okay because I've spent 6 years doing it. And I would like to say that after 6 years, I'm pretty alright at it. But 6 years of, doing it all the fucking time as well. I'm pretty good at it. I wouldn't say I was mind-blowingly fantastic. I think there are much better designers out there. But I'm pretty good at what I do. I'm alright. And the more time goes on, the better you learn the system, the better sort of game design sense that you can learn for yourself and from others. You'll hit whatever you're aiming for by the time, if you put in the time, basically. Design little things and then build up to big stuff, or just dive in the deep end, make something and get to the end, slam your way through a first draft, get to the end and go, okay, this is shit, this is shit, this is shit, this is shit, this is pretty good. Let's take that and strip away all the crap, and then focus on making this good. Or strip this away, let's make this work. This bit is shit, but I think it can work. Let's make it work. It's about, divide and conquer, basically. Yeah. Either way, I'm gonna take a break now because I'm hungry. It's 6:30 over here, and I want to go eat dinner. And I will be 15 minutes. I'm not gonna be long. So I will be back shortly. I'm probably going to work on a power, and then I'm going to start looking at Psicrystals, which is something from 3.5 that I want to port into 5th edition. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, and I'm going to work it out on stream, because I don't prepare anything. That's a lie, I do sometimes, but, generally speaking, I don't. Either way, Thanks for sticking about, folks. If you have to head off over the break, I generally do this every Monday. I don't usually do it on a Tuesday, but whatever. Stream. I'm playing Chrono Trigger at the moment. Stream that on a Friday, but I'm busy this Friday, so I'm not doing that. And on Sunday, I stream Pokemon stuff. And I may also be busy. I have a lot of things going on this week, so I might have to skip my weekend streams. I'm going to work. I'm going to play it by ear. Whatever. Either way, I'll be back in a couple of minutes. I return. It is me. Sort my hair. Okay. Oh. Some over my ear. Right. Get back into things, and I want to work on the Psicrystal. Now let's go take a look at 3.5. I think that seems pretty inherently evil. If your players are picking that, that seems fairly exclusively evil. So I don't know if it solves your problem per se. But I don't know for certain. Into a physical form. Oh, I need to clear my throat. Ah, okay. Wait. Oh, right. Okay. So, what kind of benefits does a 3.5 Psicrystal give its owner? I think I know how this is going to work. Let me go grab a hold of... God, it's hot in here. Okay. Right, where is... What's... okay, right, here we go. to shape your perform a 1-hour ritual. To a gemstone worth at least 10 gold pieces. Your Psicrystal manifests in a okay, right, so God, that's hot. Your Psicrystals will manifest inside of the gemstone. Your Psicrystal is reduced to 0 hit points. And dies. Oh. It dies. It dies, and the crystal. And the crystal was. And it loses corporeal form. Shatters and it loses. Yeah, and it loses corporeal form. Yeah, I think that works. When it is no longer manifested. There we go. I need to clear my throat. Ugh. Everything it shatters and is no longer manifested. doesn't need to shatter the gem, it just doesn't work. God, it's so fucking hot in here all of a sudden. God. Horrible. Psicrystal. Tiny construct. Your alignment. This thing is like a creature with stats. This is my desire. It's kind of like a flame skull. That's the kind of the vibe I'm going for, like visually speaking. I mean, if anything, it feels like Warlock should be able to bypass it, just altogether. Yeah, I suppose at that point, then literally everybody. I think I think I said before, but the main problem with putting mechanical restraints on just entire groups of classes based on world building, players are either going to just not play those classes, or they are going to find ways to circumvent it, like being an elf, where aging 5 years every single day just doesn't matter. I think another thing would be making it a saving throw, like making it a spell, like a saving throw using your spellcasting ability, and it's like DC 15, so the super high level spellcasters can still fail it, but it's just unlikely that, you know, like that. Yeah, I think like being a sorcerer as well, when you want to like spell sling and quicken spell and recover spell slots that cost more spells, it's almost a punishment for being a spellcaster when you could just be a martial guy and stab someone and not die of old age because you stabbed a guy a bunch of times. I don't know. I feel like there's a bit of personal bias there, but at the same, like from me, of not particularly liking it. But I think at the same time, I feel like there's probably a good number of players who would feel a very similar way about it, of just like, well, I just won't be a caster. But yeah, as I say, it's ultimately up to you, like whatever you want to do with it. But hit points. Let me go look at like the summons. Homunculus Servant. That's about it. That's a bad example. Wildfire. The Wildfire Spirit. That's a good one. Oh, I need to put armor class first. Whoops. Just tab back into the chat. Oh, okay, I thought it was something new. Your Mystic Psionic save DC. Zero feet, fly, 40 feet, hover. Makes sense. What's a Flame Skull's strength? 1? Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that's like that seems like a benefit of picking those classes, if anything. Though they also are just the witch that Gabby was talking about earlier on is also a full caster, so the like that doesn't create an issue there. Right. Psicrystal. Oh, no, it's Psy with an I. Let me just make sure I've not been spelling it with a Y anywhere. Nope. Cool. Damage resistances. And what should it be resistant to, I suppose? From non-magical attacks? That feels pretty reasonable to me. Damage immunities. Poison. That's a pretty obvious one. I think that's probably it. Condition immunities. Can't be charmed. Can't be paralyzed or poisoned or prone. Because it's an orb. It can be frightened because it does have a conscious, like a consciousness, but it is a construct, so it can't be charmed. I think it's kind of my justification there. Senses. So the wildfire spirit understands the languages you speak, and it doesn't have a challenge rating because it's a summoned. It's a friend, you see. It is a friend. You do not wish to kill this friend. Right. First thing I'm going to give it is avoidance. You just go look at demi-liches for that. Because your Psicrystal is not really an offensive tool. It is a friend that, that buffs you. It just so happens to have stats, right? That's kind of like the idea anyway. It's not something you use for combat, it's something you use for it is something used for combat, but it's not something that fights itself. It doesn't have any attacks or any spell abilities or anything like that. It makes you better at the things that you want to do, and that's sort of the purpose of it. That sort of leads me into like the kind of things I want to do, because as of right now, the Scion does not, just flat out doesn't, have a core damage dealing ability. I want, and specifically do not want, to do sort of an Eldritch Blast kind of thing, where it's just a beam that they can just do, and it gets better as they level up. You know, it does more damage, or they get more beams, or whatever. Like, it could just generically be called a psychic assault, and you can refer to it however you choose. Like, it can be whatever you want. but I'm not entirely sure exactly how I want it to work at the moment, so we'll see. I'm just going to clear my throat. Oh. So, avoidance, that's one thing I want to give it. I also want to give it illumination. A variable illumination, like a will-o-wisp. Right. Let me just check something real quick. Right. Psicrystal. I just need to have this other tab open, so I can read what it is I'm copying from. Our opponent takes whatever action you choose. You may continue to mentally command your Psicrystal. If anything, I feel like its intelligence should probably be like 7. Like, it's not super smart, but it's not stupid either. And charisma, it is literally an orb. It should probably also be 7. It's not an orb, it's a crystal. It can be an orb if you want, like, realistically. It's flavor, you just have an orb. That's totally fine. Oh. Taking whatever action would be the most beneficial for you. Is friendly to you and your companions and obeys your commands. You and it may communicate telepathically with one another. Let's also grab the old... I think ultimately with the Hexforged, I think them just being like a focus is probably fine. I don't think there's any necessity for it to be particularly complicated. I would argue, but if it has a little bit of mechanics, that's probably fine. But if it is like a whole thing, then it's probably not really necessary. Find familiar. There. So it's basically a familiar, right? Like that's basically how it works. It has the same gold cost. It takes an hour. It's probably a better familiar, like better than a familiar. But wizards get familiars from level 1. See this little hovery little friend that just kind of hangs around. That kind of screws over bonus action spellcasts, right? That sort of makes like Shield of Faith and Healing Word and a lot of just like good bonus action spells, which is almost all of them, by the way. Because any bonus action spell is good. Yeah, I think just having them be a focus is probably fine. Avoidance, variable illumination. So I kind of want it to work like a transmuter's stone, is my idea. Psicrystal shape. conveys these benefits to you as long as it's within 5 feet of you. Yeah, this shouldn't go in the stat block. This should be like a sub feature. So and what is no. Definitely not, no. Like, realistically, they, like, if they're just, you know, things that can absorb spells for you, like, that should be all they are. They take the burden of you casting the spell. Like, you still expend your spell slots, but they take the physical toll. And realistically, every Hexforge should have a maximum number of spell slots it can absorb before it just completely breaks down and deteriorates. You know, so like a lesser Hexforge, which is like 10 gold or whatever, is you know, can absorb like 20 levels of spells or something before it just breaks. Whereas one, you know, like a greater Hexforge should be able to absorb like 70 levels of spells or something. And would thus cost like, you know, like 70, 80 gold or something. Hell, if anything, the Hexforge sounds like a magic item more than anything else. Just a lesser magic item that all spellcasters just start with. Right, advantage on wisdom perception checks. What other benefits should the Psicrystal give you? That's the question. Actually, hang on. Let me think about this. Because this little guy is free. And is very hard to kill. He's a light. Like, he's a little lamp. Dude's pretty difficult to kill. He's resistant to non-magical damage. So, like, just getting smushed by a giant is kind of difficult. It's also got good AC. Decent number of hit points. And he's got super evasion. Kind of all this little dude needs to be. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that can be like a flavor thing more than anything else, but yeah, that makes sense. Like, you know, the lesser one is made of iron, and the greater one is made of copper, and then the supreme one is made of gold, because gold doesn't corrode. So there you go, 100% do that, because gold never corrodes, and is also worth a lot, so thereby the one made of gold is worth a fuck ton. Hell, if anything, the gold one is like the ultimate one, because it literally just works forever. So it's like, oh, we've been trying to get gold to work with the Hexforge for ages, but they just don't take to the metal or whatever. And there's like a couple of them out there in the world that are like good ones, you know. So like the lesser one can be, you know, iron, copper, and then like, I don't know, because copper does tarnish. Like, copper tarnishes real bad. Copper just goes turquoise, but I see what you mean. Like, it tarnishes a lot slower than iron does. That's for sure. If you leave a piece of metal out in the rain for a week, it's covered in rust by the time you're done. Whereas a copper coin that, you know, has been in circulation for 20 years is only just starting to tarnish and go blue or turquoise, I guess. And then the next step up from that can be, you know, whatever other metal tarnishes even slower than copper, for instance. And then, yeah, that's like the top level, and then there's the gold one, which is like, it just doesn't corrode, like, at all. Like, it's if you have one, then you're just set. That's it. You're done. You bypass the problem. Yeah, I think this, like, sort of, this little guy that you get him at 5th level. He feels to me a little on, like, not like the weaker side per se, but like, he doesn't seem particularly exciting. But if anything, you could get this little guy at like 2nd level, and he'd probably be okay. You know what? Fuck it, we're gonna do that. I think that's kind of unnecessary, to be honest, because like, that is just gonna like bog the game down. Not to mention, unless you're using very specific weather rules, your players are going to feel like, well, you're just making it rain, so our hex forges just go away. And they can also just, you know, put them in a sack as well. I think that just adds a lot of unnecessary bookkeeping to the game. I would advise against it. Let's move the Psicrystal to 2nd level, because hell yeah, why not? Let's do it. Focus. So that's a 5th level feature, and I'm thinking it makes your Psicrystal a little better in some way. Focus, or it could just be Crystal Focus. I think Crystal Focus is a better name, more reminiscent of what it actually is. At 5th level, Actually, no. But regardless, I think getting a little Psicrystal guy is probably pretty good, given that, you know, he can take the help action, he can dodge, he can, like, I don't know, I think he's cool. I like him. Now, it is 7:30. I'm going to be going for another half an hour. I think in that time, I want to make one more power, I think. Because we've only really made one today. And the powers are like the core of the class, right? That's like the main thing that they are and what they do. I want to do speed enhancement. I think there's a better term to use than that. Be alacrity, maybe? Define alacrity. Alacritic enhancement. Does it talk? Because if it has the ability to communicate, then it's at the very least sentient. Which is a bit of a yikes in that respect. Yeah, regardless of whether that's the case or not, I think the just having it be able to absorb a set amount of spells is probably fine. Like, it doesn't need to be a big thing. Like, it can be a major aspect of the world building, but on a mechanical basis, it doesn't have to be anything. Programmed sentience is... It's like, you know, this is getting into philosophy here, but I would argue that if something has the ability to simulate sentience, then it is sentient. Just like, end of sentence. There's also just the prospect of how do they make something that's sentient, or even programmed sentience, which is probably even more complicated on like a magic item creation standpoint. Like, it's cool to have a talking thing with you, but I would argue that if something at your table poses not only a philosophical but also a moral quandary, it's maybe best to not, like, unless you specifically want that moral quandary, it's probably best to not have it. Because certainly I would argue that something that right. But if it's able to respond, then it has the ability to comprehend. It has the ability to understand things. Even if sort of in a very esoteric kind of fashion. I don't know. Like, if you're talking about like a programmed like customer support bot, then that's probably fine. If that's the way you're, yeah. If that's the way it's being framed, it's probably fine. Yeah, like, yeah. Now that it's been sort of explained like that, like as like a customer support robot, like, you know, you know, like a company has like a Facebook Messenger bot where you message them and it like is like, it can comprehend the gist of your sentence and say, oh, do this. But yeah. Your speed increases by 5 feet. Yeah, whatever. That's fine. So it needs to do other things. So... you can take the dash action as a bonus action. This is probably fine here, I just need something else to go in the novice section. I'll sort of come back to it, I think, is probably the way to go about things. Telekinesis, when do you... So you can, it's all good, it's all good. So you can get access to haste, which is, spoiler alert, it's one of the best spells in the entire game. It's insane. Just make sure you have good con, otherwise you will be very sad when you lose concentration on it immediately. speed instead increases by 20 feet. Okay, that works. That's good. I'm not sure what else to give them at Master either. We need something down here, like something at Novice level that can get slightly better as things go on. Daunting transmission. There we go. Daunting transmission. I don't want to call it instant transmission, okay? that's before the DM rolls for damage. That's, yeah. This is it. This is it. Darting transmission. where do I word how this works? Telekinesis, master, blah, blah, blah. And can be used at will. That's how I word it. Okay, good. That. Just use your reaction, just go somewhere else. Now this does kind of overlap a little bit with getting shield. If anything, actually, this might be kind of better. Huh. Then the issue I'm having here is that... I know. Let's make this even better. Let's make it combo with shield. Let's make it fucking spicy. Additionally, this feature no longer requires... I'll just put lastly in there, I think. Additionally, this feature no longer requires you to use your requires your reaction to use. However, you cannot use it if you can't take reactions, and once you've used it, you can't use it again until the start of your next turn. There we go. Fucking nice. That works. I fucking like that. So now what you can do is, if you're an expert in allocritic enhancement, I don't like this name, I don't want to change it. I don't want to just be speed enhancement, you know, it's boring. However, you know, you can go, okay, allocritic enhancement, you know, or use darting transmission and give them disadvantage, and they roll a little bit lower, but it would still hit you, and then you go, okay, now I use my actual reaction and use meta protection and cast shield, or use meta barrier and cast shield, which then causes it to miss, and then you get to teleport. Now this is the built-in combos. You know, now this is game design. Said, you know, the words spoken of old Blanikin Sply Walker, whatever. I fucking like that. That is sick as fuck. But yeah, I think we are... I think this is probably a good place to end, because if I start on anything, it's going to take me like 20 minutes. So I'm probably going to stop there. I didn't get as much done as I wanted to today, but that's fine. I don't really care. Like, you know, we got the Psicrystal. I kind of want to toy with it a little bit more. It's not as like in depth as I would like it to be necessarily, but I think whatever the 5th level feature ends up being is probably going to be an improvement of the Psicrystal anyway. So I think it's fine. From there, I think something we do really need to think about is like how the fuck does the class progress? Like, I think if anything, next time we need to think about what like the E-Blast adjacent mechanic is. Like, what is the class's bread and butter of attacking things? How does that fucking work, right? How are we gonna make it work? What is it gonna do? But I'm gonna see if there's anyone to raid. There is not. That's fine. Either way, I hope folks have enjoyed themselves. Do, you know, press the buttons if you so desire, or don't. Like, you do whatever the fuck you want with your life. I'll slap me guild link in again. You go look at that. Go follow, or press the fucking button, whatever. Like do what you want. Like, I ain't gonna fucking tell you what to do. And even if I did, what the fuck would that even mean? Like, I was like, oh, fucking, this is, you know, fucking image of a guy on my screen told me to do something. Wow. Like, sure am gonna listen to him. It's like, no, you can control your own fucking life. Do what you want. Either way, I'm playing the rest of this week by ear, just because I've got a shitload to do. I've got, like, 3 games on this week, a barbecue, and, like, a writing deadline. All in the space of, like 4 days. So that's going to be fun. It's not. But I'm sure it'll be fine. Everything's going to be fine. Regardless, hope folks enjoy themselves. Hopefully see you this weekend or next week, maybe. Hope you enjoy yourselves. See ya.